Good evening. My name is Evan Gregory, and this is Bible Answers. We're going to start looking at John chapter 10 tonight, and you can follow along. We have our verses on the screen here, and as also we have a YouTube page. So all of our videos are being uploaded onto YouTube, our YouTube page, the North Columbus Church of Christ. You can find us, subscribe to our channel. We also have a website, northcolumbuschristians.com, and there you can find out more about us, North Columbus Church of Christ, and find out more about us there. You can listen to the past sermons, all that good stuff as well. So for the last several weeks, we've been looking at the book of John. We made our way to chapter 10. Remember in John chapter 9, we see a situation which Jesus says, heal the blind man. Uh, the Pharisees have issues with the fact that he's healing on the Sabbath, and there was a whole uh, conversation is a light way to put it, but a conversation between the Pharisees, the blind man that was healed, and then we also see later on that Jesus come to the formerly blind man after he was, kicked out by the Pharisees that spoke to him, and then also did engage with the Pharisees again at that point. So it takes us into John chapter 10. And in verses 1 through 4, it says, most assuredly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. So Jesus begins in chapter 10, really not changing subjects, but he is going into another thought. Kind of going back around to the problem with the Pharisees in chapter 9, with just their inability to believe. And now Jesus is beginning his discussion on sheep, shepherds, the sheep that's in the sheepfold, and what he's going to be talking about. And I'm hoping some of you are familiar with the Bible, is that when he's talking about the shepherd, he's talking about himself. The sheep here would be those that believe him. And so he says, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. And so he will clear up what he means by the door here, but he gives this illustration of someone who's basically trying to enter the sheepfold in the basically trespassing, the incorrect way. You're supposed to enter in by the door, but this person is going to climb up. They're trying to get in the way. They're just acting very sneakily, and they're described as a thief and a robber. But the person who is the shepherd enters in by the door. The sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And so the sheep here are following this shepherd. It says that they follow him for they know his voice. So they recognize his voice. They recognize who he is. That they know who he is for sure. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them. We see the leading out of these sheep, the leadership here that the shepherd shows. The sheep don't go in front; rather, it is the shepherd that is going before them. So again, Jesus is beginning by talking about sheep and shepherds, trying to make his point here, which takes us into verses 5 through 10. It says, yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this illustration, but they did not understand the things which he spoke to them. So they will follow the shepherd, the one that enters in by the door. They know his voice. They know who he is. But yet then we see that they will by no means follow a stranger. So if this person that comes in, that climbs up sneakily, these thieves and robbers, if they try to come up, they're not going to follow them. They do not know the voice of strangers. And so you may be wondering, well, what exactly is he talking about here? The people that are listening to him are not quite understanding him as well, but he does clear up some of these things here in a few moments. He makes it clear as to what he's talking about. Then Jesus said to them again, most assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. Notice what Jesus says here. He says, I am the door of the sheep. So if one is going to enter into the sheepfold, they have to come in through the door. They cannot come in any other way. And so they're coming in, and so these thieves and robbers, well, the sheep don't listen to them. They don't have anything to do with him. But if you're going to enter in, you have to enter in by the door. Jesus says that he is the door. You have to enter in by him. If you enter by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. And notice what he does not say. He does not say, well, if you just live a good life, if you just if whatever religion you're devoted to, if you follow that to a T, that's good enough. He doesn't say that. He says you have to come in through the door. That is through him. And so any other way is unacceptable. You can't climb up and expect to be saved. You can't follow some other religion and expect to be saved. You can't just be like, well, I'm just a good guy and expect to be saved. You only are going to enter in through him. So that they will be saved, he will go in and out and find pasture. Notice what the thief is, that the thief here does not want what's good for the sheep, that they're only coming to steal, kill, and to destroy. Okay, so you get this picture of these other people that are coming in several other places in the New Testament. You'll see this idea of wolves, or wolves in sheep clothing, that they might look the part, but they have ulterior motives, and so these people may act as though that they're trying to lead the sheep or want what's best for the sheep, but don't be fooled. They want to destroy, steal, and to kill. But rather, Jesus here is coming to people that they can have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Now, he's not saying here that you're going to have it more. You're going to have more abundant riches, that you're going to have more prosperity in this life. But there are other ways in which you're going to have it more abundantly and much more in the life that is to come, eternal life. So it takes us into verses 11 through 16. It says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. But a hireling who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he is a hireling and does not care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known by my own. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. So Jesus has said that he is the door, but he's also here the good shepherd. Okay, so he is the shepherd. Now, when you think about having a flock of sheep, or even any type of flock of animals or herd of animals, what's the reason for you to have those animals? Now, a lot of people have them just to keep company with the animals. They like the animals, and they like tending to them and fooling with them, and whatever it may be. But people that have sheep, they have cows, or any of those other type of agricultural animals, a lot of people only have them for one purpose. And that's two purposes really: to make money off of them, or to eat them. Use them as food here. Okay, they have no intentions of dying for these animals. Rather, the animal is going to die for them. And so here we see that the good shepherd, which is Jesus, is actually going to give his life for the sheep. So the shepherd leads the sheep, cares about the sheep, is also willing to give his life for the sheep. And it compares the shepherd to a hireling. Okay, so this hireling, they're getting paid. They're basically an employee. They're not going to take care of the sheep like the shepherd, like the person who is really in control here. You think about someone who owns a business, that the owner of that business is going to care much more about that business than his employee. And it's not necessarily wrong, but that's just the way it is. And this hireling, when it comes to where he's risking his life, he's not going to do that. If he sees a wolf coming, he's going to flee. He's going to get away. He's not worried about protecting the sheep when that any type of real hardship or struggle comes along. And so, contrasting that again, he goes again and says he's the good shepherd. He knows his sheep. He's known by his own. Again, going back to the sheep, recognizing who the shepherd is. And so, and other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice. So there's going to be others that are being brought in. I believe that what he's talking about is he's talking about Gentiles, those that are not Jews, or that's going to become a part of this sheepfold, those that are going to accept Christ, and they're going to be saved by Christ outside of the Jewish nation. And so they're going to hear his voice, and they're going to be one flock, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. So there's not going to be a flock of Jewish sheep, and there's not going to be a flock of Gentile sheep. There's not going to be black sheep and white sheep. There's not going to be any of that type of distinction. There's only going to be one flock, and that's going to be those that are saved, those that are following Jesus, the Good Shepherd. So there's one flock and one shepherd. And so taking us to verses 17 through 21, it says, therefore my Father loves me because I laid down my life that I may take it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This command I have received from my Father. Therefore there was a division among the Jews because of these sayings. And many of them said, he has a demon and is mad. Why do you listen to him? Others said, these are not the words of one who has a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? So he moves from talking more about him being a shepherd, the sheepfold, and begins talking about the relationship that he has with his Father. He says his Father loves him because I laid down my life that I may take it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down to myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. So what he's saying here is that he has power over life and death. He can lay down his life. He can take it again. He can die. He can live again. And so this command, he says, I have received from my Father. God's basically giving him this command, telling him that he has brought him down to this earth for this particular purpose. We understand that he's eventually coming here to die for the sins of the sheep, for the sins of those that are going to that have faith in him, that are going to eventually follow him. And so, but yet he has this power, this authority over life and death. And as you can imagine, the Jews that are sitting there listening to this speech, they're conflicted over what's being said. And earlier in John chapter 9, Jesus talks about those that are blind but will be able to see, and then those that are claiming to see but are actually blind. And you see this again here with how people are reacting to what he's saying. Some are saying he has a demon and is mad. Why do you listen to him? This is a crazy guy. But notice what the other people are saying. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? And this is similar to what that blind man in John chapter 9 was saying. How can someone who's a sinner, how can someone who is, some crazy false teacher, false prophet, do these types of things? Nobody's done this before. How can he do this unless God is with him? And so we see that connection that some people are making here. How can a demon be doing this? How can a demon be healing a blind man? That's impossible. And so we see that distinction there, really, between those that are his sheep and those that are not his sheep, those that believe and those that won't believe. What else what else is it going to take for those that are seeing these things and yet still won't believe? What else is it going to, what else is it going to take? I don't have a good answer. There's some people here that it doesn't matter what Jesus does, what Jesus says, or what Jesus does, is going to convince some of these people that we read about here. And so we're going to stop there. We're going to take up where we left off later in the next show. And so I should have said this at the beginning. Remember, this is a live show. If you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave it. Even after this is over, if you got a question, leave it here. Also on YouTube, I try to watch the comments. If you got a question or comment, you want to put it on our YouTube video. This video is going to be uploaded soon to YouTube, so you can see it there as well. I think there were some changes with Facebook regarding these live videos that they're after so many days, these videos will be deleted off of Facebook, and so we have been putting those videos up on the YouTube, just for someone to have another source. They don't have to be on Facebook to watch it, and but now if you're going to want to watch these older videos that we have, you're pretty much are limited to going on to YouTube. And so again, that YouTube page is North Columbus Church of Christ. But I hope this has been useful for everybody. We're just going to keep on trucking through John through each show. I'm not. I try to do it. I try to do the show every week at every Sunday at 7 p.m. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Life happens, but we try to do it Sundays at 7. And if you're perusing the Facebooks, keep an eye out for us. If you're on Facebook Sunday at 6:59 p.m., try to find us, and we're likely to be fixing to go live. So until next time, I hope that you all have a good day, a good rest of the week. Thanks.